Ready?
I'm trying. I'm getting there. Just a second. I gotta get us another record. Are we up there?
Where's that other?
There you go.
Oh, just give it one, just give it one.
That's all
tap.
right, mine wasn't charged.
Yeah, these
Which
are,
works great for
Okay,
me.
we're on the record.
We're on the record now. Everybody take a seat. Do we have a sign-in sheet?
Well, this is reconsideration, so there's no public.
There is no
Not
public?
on this one.
well, it's not
Okay.
a public hearing, it's a meeting. I misread that.
Okay.
Yes, it's a-
So number 7 is a public meeting. Consider request for reconsideration of the denial of Mills Landing subdivision project on December 6th, 2023. Ms. Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor Hutchinson and council. So if Jenica will switch me over, you can, let's just start with this quick background. Mills Landing subdivision, request for reconsideration is a type of appeal. The vicinity up there is, you'll see Purple Sage to the north, if you'll remember, Middleton Road to the east, Meadow Park Drive to the south. It's sandwiched between Valhalla on the right and Crossings on the west. So it's a Toll Brothers project. It had 100 single-family lots. It was RP zoning on 40 acres, and they brought their application to you in December. The applications were annexation and rezone, preliminary plat, and it was a development agreement application. So the public hearing on the 3 applications was held on December 6th, 2023. And during the presentation, staff or I reported that applicant would not agree to 2 provisions in the proposed DA, development agreement. One, it was the construction of the traffic signal at Cemetery Road and Highway 44 before final plat for phase 1 approval could be had. And number 2, that the DA wanted to state that they had to make a $109,000 traffic pro rata fee payment before final plat. And the developer offered instead to pay $46,000 based upon the horizon year 2040 versus 2025, I think it was. During council discussion, after the hearing was closed, Council President Kaiser stated that developers' refusal to agree to the DA provisions regarding the traffic light and the $109,000 pro rata payment was the basis for his motion to deny the applications. Councilmember Huggins and Council President Kaiser then clarified for the record that if this developer agreed to the DA provisions in the future, that could be the basis for an approval in the future, but they wanted to see a wholly new DA application come forward. Council then voted on the motion to deny, and the motion was unanimously approved. So I look back in the city records, and there has not been very many reconsiderations. There's not a real good process set forth for it, but this is the only code section on what this process is: a reconsideration request and appeal. Applicants or an affected property owner, and that's somebody who is a neighbor who's upset or something, shall have 14 days after the written final decision is executed to request reconsideration by the final decision maker, which is you. Such request must identify specific deficiencies in a final decision. Failure to request reconsideration may invalidate a subsequent judicial appeal, meaning it'll affect their ability to sue later on. After considering the identified deficiencies, the final decision about the reconsidered request shall be issued and distributed to the applicant and to any affected property owners who have requested notice of the final decision. So after the process tonight, Mayor will allocate a certain amount of time for the applicant to speak. And then you'll make a decision on whether to grant or deny, approve or deny. And then I'll also render another written decision on that, whatever you do tonight. And at this point, really, the laboring oar is in the seat of the applicant. They're the ones that need to bring forward all the evidence and facts. And so I just teed this up, and I think we can just move on to applicant.
Okay.
Mayor.
I would say 10 minutes.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Council, Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock in Boise, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. You've all heard the project facts, and we appreciate Ms. Stewart just summarizing them as well. We do have a presentation to go over any more questions if there are any about the project, but we know we just did that back in December 6th. So unless there are questions specifically about the project, amenities, open space, things like that, I'll just let that lie. Reconsideration is a kind of unusual procedure. In addition to the city code, there's also state code that addresses it. They're very similar in this case, but as Ms. Stewart mentioned, you have the ability to uphold your prior decision, reverse your prior decision, or modify that decision. And today, we're asking you to reverse that decision, approve this project with the conditions. That's really it in a nutshell. To be specific again, the two conditions at issue were the amount of the pro rata fees to the city and the cemetery and State Highway 44 intersection. So again, for ultimate clarity, we're fully agreeing with those conditions of approval that were in the staff report, were in the development agreement at the December 6th hearing. You might ask, why are we agreeing to that now? Some significant events have happened since that December 6th meeting. The very next week, as you all know, I think there was a presentation from Public Works. The city was awarded a grant for the light. And so now we have the grant funds for the light as well as a schedule. That schedule, I think, works well with our project. If the light is built based on the grant application, it will be in and operable before we have occupancy. So those are sort of the changed facts that brought us here today. We appreciated Councilmember Kaiser's motion to say, okay, this is what it would take to get approved. And I think that's why we're asking for reconsideration tonight, because it was a pretty narrow request or narrow motion. And that's really all we have for you tonight. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So you're agreeing to the $109,000 payment as well?
Mayor Hutchinson, Councilmember Kaiser, yes, sir.
Okay. Because really nothing has changed. We said until the light is built. We didn't say you had to build it. We didn't say any of that stuff. So obviously that, I mean, that was one of your, obviously one of the hangups. The other hangup was the dollar amount, as Roberta stated. And so now we're no longer having a problem with the dollar amount, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're in full agreement with the staff's recommended conditions.
So, Mayor, and maybe we should read what that, was it item number 5 that we were debating in the, should we read that again to make sure that everybody's on the same page as to what you're agreeing to now?
When you say item number 5, what do you mean?
I'm trying to find it here and I'm not, it was the reason that we declined it.
If I might, Mayor and Councilmember Christiansen, it's a couple of provisions in the development agreement. I don't know what page that would be in your packet, but it's sections 3.4 and 3.5 of the development agreement. 3.4 is entitled Pro Rata Traffic Fee. It says developer shall pay a $109,375 pro rata traffic fee as required by Middleton City Code 543 prior to final plat approval of phase 1.
Okay.
So that is the condition we're agreeing to. And then section 3.5 is quite a bit longer. I'll spare you the text, but effectively it says no phase 1 until the signal is installed.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, at least me, on the same page. Thank you.
I've actually got a question that's probably going to be for Roberta. And if this is out of place for reconsideration, just say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that, because I'm not sure of the minutia. Is there capacity reserved in our wastewater system at this time?
When we had the public special meeting, the engineer for the city came forward and said, as of this time, based upon the capacity analysis, no.
So they don't have capacity reserved in our existing system for this? Because that goes with the preliminary plat, correct?
Right,
So there's no
and
reservation.
that occurred last week when city engineer made that decision, and it was a policy decision pretty much that you were informed of, and how planning is proceeding this far.
So is that something that can be taken into consideration for a reconsideration, or no? I'm trying to.
That actually is a consideration that should be occurring with a public hearing, a noticed land use application. Those are items to be discussed at those times. A reconsideration is looking for deficiencies in what you guys did. You did something deficient, wrong. You did something wrong.
Okay.
And so at this point, I don't know if we aren't embarking on a public hearing type process without the public hearing contraption.
Okay, I'm not trying to push boundaries, I'm just trying
Yeah.
to define where
Yeah.
those boundaries are.
But residential capacity, city, having tightening up sewer capacity as of last week when city engineer came before you in that public meeting, no more annexations, residential. And this was not included in that capacity at the time because they were denied. So it's, and that would be something you would take care of during an annexation public hearing, and this is not that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you clarify all that again for me? So what do we do at this point, and can we have that talk at a later time, that discussion?
At this point, this is just an appeal to look at facts that
Okay.
occurred in the previous hearing, discrete facts.
Okay,
Not a public hearing on land use and capacity, none of that. And the standard that you're deciding tonight is, at that hearing, did you do, what's the term? I don't have it in front of me. A deficiency. Was there a deficiency in the way the proceedings occurred, or my order following, was it deficient in some way? If you can't find a deficiency, I don't think you could approve this reconsideration. You have to find a deficiency.
So a deficiency, even though now that they want, it's not necessarily a deficiency as I see this, as much as we've changed our minds, we agree to what you're saying.
And I had set it up and asked council back then, hey, why not, you could approve it then with the condition that if they come back in to the fold and agree, then we can move forward. And you said, no, I
Right.
want to see them start over, bring it in, and
So I'm seeing the difference.
with another
now.
public hearing, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm seeing the difference now as compared to when it was denied originally. The acceptance of 3.5, of provision 3.5 in its
Yeah.
entirety. Is that really the sum total of what this
It would
is?
appear at this point that they are saying they would agree wholeheartedly to the DA provisions.
Okay.
But
So
there's a
that
process
then
for that, though.
means- That then means that other than that condition, council approved everything else that it saw, but absent the approval of 3.5, it was denied.
I would not say you did that. I would
Okay.
say that you stated on the record two very discrete reasons why you would not approve that night.
Okay,
You, per state law and Middleton City Code, you gave reasons that you might grant approval in the future if they did these two things. But you wanted to see them come back around. Maybe this is sufficient for coming back around, or maybe it was with a full another
Well, that's
application.
kind of, my question was kind of leading to that conclusion. What do we do with that tonight? Do we have to go back again before council as a project, or do we approve it? I mean, if that's what's decided.
So technically tonight, we're looking at a reconsideration. If you can find that you committed an act, or I did in my writing the order that constituted a deficiency, then yes, you would approve it. And the results of that might be me just rewriting my order.
But that would be done tonight versus having it come up before council again as a,
Yeah, that would be the end of it.
okay.
For clarification, and if they chose to do that, would this be for plat approval included in that, or?
It's a little unorthodox. I don't think this is the process for
Okay.
approving
So that's yet to be
the
in the
annexation
future?
and the plat. That would be
Okay.
another public hearing.
Okay.
If I might, sorry, Mayor Hutchinson, so a couple things. To address the facts first, on the sewer, and I do agree with Ms. Stewart that this is a closed record. So we're trying not to give you any facts that weren't previously presented. This isn't a public hearing, we're here on the old facts. So reading from the staff report in the record as it relates to sewer. Sewer and water capacity are already included in the current capacity analysis. Capacity will not be formally reserved until the construction drawings are approved by city engineer. So that's what we came before you with before, and that's what we would expect now. We understand that there's a current strain, but like any project that's approved, when you go to get your final plat, if there's no capacity, there's no capacity. So we hope that you don't use those new facts to deny this project, because this is what we were operating on.
Roberta, could you answer that?
And that was in the city council one at the time. So at the time, we were at the upper limits of the analysis. We know we were hitting, and this was back in early December. Was it December?
December 6th.
And that's my city council one, not the P&Z one. Because I think it says something different under annexation.
Mayor Hutchinson, Ms. Stewart, it's the project report that's attached to your final decision.
But what has happened subsequently, last week, city engineer there's been a much more deeper dive on the analysis, and it was declared that no more annexations. And since that time, we'd had, Farmington came in with 421 after these guys, 421 lots. So that was kind of the change that affected capacity. At the time you went, I don't think Farmington had come yet. They were December, the second one.
And is that the county project that you're serving?
Yes, when we're serving it, yes.
And I have reviewed that agreement to serve, and I think it says that there is no capacity reserved until it's approved and final platted.
We're talking about planned capacity, and the city has a planning process to look at what they're gonna let in the queue. But they don't actually formally reserve it
Right.
until your construction drawings are approved. So if we're just talking planned capacity, while you guys were denied, Farmington came in, 421 new EDUs came on, and then since that time also, city engineer has poured her heart and soul with public works, city administration, new mayor, and declared in a public meeting, that the policy has to be no more annexations.
Right, and we're agreeing with what's in the staff report here from our original hearing, and I think the same would be true for Farmington. If they don't come online for 10 years and there's no capacity, there's no capacity.
You could look at it that way, but the city's planning does not want to do that. They want to rest assured that when they bring in an annexation and preliminary plat project, that 5 years later, 10 years later, or 20 years later, the capacity is there to serve them. And that somebody else doesn't come in and it's a little bit faster and takes their capacity when they're halfway through their project. So that we don't do it that way.
Understood, yep, and I'll leave it at that, because that's what the record says. But I did want to address just two more questions, and they deal with the deficiency issue. So again, what state law says is tonight you have the ability to affirm your decision, so keep it as is, reverse it, so we take it approval, or modify it, so you could approve it with modifications. So those are your options. We're of course asking for you to reverse your decision and approve. There is there's a condition to get that, right? You can't just change your mind. you have to find a deficiency. And so we pointed out a deficiency, not to be critical, but to give you that toehold if that's the policy decision you decide to make. And the deficiency we pointed out is in the written decision. So what the decision says is that, quote, city council noted that approval may be obtained if developer agrees to section 3.5 of the DA at Cemetery Road, and if the developer agrees to pro rata traffic fee of 109 through 75. So that's why we're here. But the deficiency there is that Idaho code requires you to explain why you didn't agree with us, right? We stood up here for an hour and explained why the pro rata fee was wrong. There's really nothing in the record to show why that's the right number. And we're not challenging that today, we're agreeing to pay it. But if you're looking for that toehold, that is the toehold that we've given you, is that the written record doesn't adequately sort through the facts.
I don't see that the written record would have anything to do with our decision. I don't, Rob, you don't think you had something you wanted to do?
Well, I thought we did explain, you wanted to use 2040 compass numbers, we wanted to use
2025.
2025, therefore created this gap. I thought we were pretty clear on that, as our code said this, you guys said no this. So I'm trying to figure out where this toehold is, because I remember that was specifically stated during both presentations. So I'm confused now as to where you say that wasn't stated.
Right, Mayor Hutchinson, Councilmember Kaiser, that's a great point. We did talk about that at length. The city code doesn't provide a number, right? And so really it's a question of what is the traffic analysis say? And we fundamentally disagreed with you on that. Not today, we're agreeing, but ultimately the written decision, which is what we would take to a court to say that you committed error, didn't explain that, and that's the error. That's what the law requires, that you explain why you picked your number.
Okay.
What?
So how, Roberta, could we go forward from here? If we said, no, we thought we did everything right, we just gotta rewrite the written decision? Or maybe that's a Taylor question, I'm not sure.
But to add to what Rob was just saying, conditions have changed. We had a disagreement on 3.5 and it was not approved based on that, and well, the two items that are in there. But other conditions within the DA have since changed. So what I'm hearing you saying, in all due respect, is that all of the tenets of the original DA are still true, even though it was denied at that time. Does that invalidate those or not? Is really the question it boils down to.
When was the light at Cemetery Road announced that we had gotten those grant funds?
December 13th.
So the no new information sword, doesn't that cut both ways? Because you're requesting a reconsideration based on information that came after your initial denial. We're not allowed to do that. Are they allowed to do that? I mean,
Mayor
Right.
Hutchinson, Councilmember Murray, at that hearing, you had, you were basically on what was called a recommended list, and we presented that information, and I think Ms. Stewart mentioned that you would probably be finding out the next week, but we didn't know for sure.
right, but you're now agreeing to the conditions that were given to you at that time, which at that time you disagreed with, because you now know for a fact that we have those grant funds for that light. So you're requesting a reconsideration based upon new information, which I don't. Do
Mayor
you see what I'm
Hutchinson,
saying at all, anybody?
Councilmember Murray, I don't disagree, but I think at the end of the day, the condition that was drafted that night by staff that said it fully mitigated, we're agreeing to, regardless of the reason.
But that's just the light, that's not with regard to the water treatment issue. Am I missing something?
I was just doing some verbal judo.
Let's let Taylor.
Mayor and council, I'm going to make an attempt to try to simplify this a bit, and maybe with more dialogue from Mr. Bauer as well, we can try to kind of come up with a plan on how to tackle this the best way, simplest way. My understanding is that what we're looking for in this reconsideration, mind you, it's a public meeting, not a public hearing, okay? So we're not going to be accepting new facts to be placed on the record, so any conversation that wasn't taking place back when we originally heard this issue is not appropriate for this type of conversation. What we're looking for are deficiencies in the FCOs. So I believe all of you had access to the letter that was written that kind of explained where they believe those deficiencies are. They've been pointed out here already. So the issue that's in front of you today is to determine whether or not you believe there's a deficiency that exists in the FCOs. If there's not, the reconsideration request would be presumably denied. If there are, my understanding is how we would proceed is set a date for the hearing to be resumed or reopened, so to speak, if there's new things that need to be brought forward. Any questions on that? Did I do a decent job to simplifying what we're talking about?
I understand.
Okay.
I understand that. So my question is, if I say, no, I thought we did it well. It was discussed, even though it necessarily didn't make its way to paper. It's very clearly stated. Do we just have the FCO retyped for them? How does that work?
So I believe if we need to change FCOs, it would indicate that there is arguably a deficiency,
Okay.
okay? Not saying that there is, I'm saying that there's at least some argument
Right.
to it. So that is what I would ask for you to consider. If there's going to be a request to change our FCOs,
Well, not a request. I'm just going by what he said his
Sure.
deficiencies were in said FCO.
sure. I would suggest then I don't know that I see a decision being made tonight on the appeal side of things. It would be a need to reopen the hearing on it. Are we seeing things differently?
Mayor
Yes.
Hutchinson, City Attorney, I think that you have two choices. You could, reconsideration doesn't require another public hearing. You certainly can grant the reconsideration and say you want to have a public hearing, and we're happy to do that. That's great for us. But to answer your question too, and I mean this is me, cutting against myself here. You could say we did create a deficiency and we're just going to write a better decision and we're still going to deny it. That's absolutely a possibility without a public hearing. But what we heard, at least from yourself, Councilmember Kaiser, and from our former council member who's no longer here, was that you liked the community. It was the type of project you wanted, but that the transportation conditions needed to be included. And so we thought this was a good procedure to get there without going before P&Z, back to council and all that. So
Understand that.
that's why we're here tonight.
So we're looking for deficiencies in our decision is what this,
Or in my order, which
Right.
I could rectify by another order, just rewriting it, because if you gave, in your opinion, clear reasons why you were denying it, if you feel you did that, and that you didn't do it because they're black, or because you don't like tall people, or something discriminatory, something deficient or wrong, you gave a basis on the record, then my written order needed to pull those out distinctly, maybe is what I think they're arguing. But I attached my staff report and incorporated it into the order and as Exhibit A. And my staff report clarified that they were not agreeing, and I was indicating that this is a reason for annexation to be problematic, is they would not agree to money that would help our roads, and that they would not agree to a traffic signal being built some way by someone prior to them putting houses in there. So my staff report said it and was attached, incorporated, but it wasn't in the written order per se in black and white. These two reasons is why council denied. We're looking for procedural deficiencies tonight. We cannot go into
anything
the
else.
application
Procedural.
and facts. The public has
Perfect.
no ability to chime in. It's like, were you not clear in why you denied that? If you were not clear, then there might be a deficiency. Was my written order not clear? If it was not clear, then there might be a deficiency. These are the procedures you're looking at tonight only.
okay? That's very simple for me.
And-
I'm sorry.
And then do we come back for a special meeting to continue on? No.
If you find that you gave clear reasons on the record for why you're denying it, and if you find that my order sufficiently conveyed that, then you would deny the request. If you feel that you didn't, then we prove it, and you would say, Roberta, go rewrite that, but if you really did not give them good reasons, or you did something wrong, you didn't listen to them, you didn't let facts in, and you should have let facts in, like a court of law, then you need to open it and restart again. If you did something wrong, you didn't let somebody speak, you didn't let evidence in, things like that. These are procedural deficiencies.
Procedural deficiencies only. Okay, very good. You have more to add?
Mayor Hutchinson, Councilmember Kaiser, just to say again, we're not here to nitpick or point out deficiencies. This isn't a case that I think we're gonna take to court and challenge. Again, we heard the comments that you like the community, but we needed the conditions. And so we feel like we've pointed out a technical deficiency that you could use to otherwise get this project approved. And with that, I'll sit down unless there are any questions.
Councilmember Murray?
Oh, sorry, not a question.
Okay.
Oh,
I do not believe, personally, that we have a deficiency, but I am willing to move to reopen it if that's what everybody wants, so that we can kind of reset and clear the air. But, that's just my,
We need to follow the code, though. The code has a specific standard.
what we always do.
Yeah, then the code says, if you find a deficiency, reopen it. If you don't find a deficiency, you should not reopen it.
You're correct.
I see this as a way to circumvent another public hearing and going through the process again over denial. I don't feel that we were deficient in any way. I thought we spoke very clearly and articulately at that time about what needed to happen. So
In terms of the traffic.
Yes, in terms of that specific part. So I didn't feel there was a term, and I see this as a way to come back in without restarting the process over. Personally, that's about where I see it. So, any other thoughts, council?
Not that would really pertain to the original proposal.
Okay.
The new news afterwards definitely reflects a problem with our ability to supply the necessary products that they're gonna need, but
That's not
that's not the discussion today.
That's not the discussion. Discussion's simple. Did we do something procedurally wrong? In my heart, I do not believe so.
No,
I
I
thought
don't
we
think so
spoke
either.
very clearly. Okay. With that said, then I move that we deny the request for reconsideration of the Mills Landing subdivision.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Council President Kaiser.
Yes.
Councilmember Christiansen.
Yes.
Councilmember Murray.
Yes.
Councilmember Romero.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Number 8, public hearing, applications by Greg Payne, Todd Myers, GP3 Hartley LLC, Allen Mills for annexation and rezone development agreement with respect to vacant parcels that 1214.173 acres are located at 0 Highway 44 Middleton, Idaho, tax parcel number R347720011 and R347720000. Applicants are requesting a zone change from county
Agricultural.
Thank you. And C1 neighborhood commercial to city C3 heavy commercial. Miss Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor and council. There are certain words, at 9:30 at night, I can hardly say preliminary plat. It's not like I'm drunk all the time, and it's
Well, I'm
just I'm
not.
tired. Let's see if I got this going. Let me hit my duplicate. It's my laptop, it bounces around. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an annexation project. It is not residential, it's based, as you know. So let's look at vicinity. Here we're looking at the intersection of Highway 44 and Hartley Lane. You'll see Forge International, which I think they're now called Sage International. This is a proposed project. It's located at the southwest corner of Hartley Lane and Highway 44. The project, there's two parcels, they total about 15 acres. The hard parcel on the corner where the Maverick gas station would be located is 2.75 acres. The other is approximately 12 acres to the south. They are owned by the same owner. Applicants are requesting the city annex in the parcels and rezone them to C3 heavy commercial. They're proposing, as I said, a Maverick fueling station and convenience store. It actually has the truck, the higher canopies for a large truck fueling station and then regular vehicles. It'll be a really nice facility that way. They'll be on that 2.75 acre parcel. There is no project proposed for the 12 acre parcel to the south. And I'm gonna move my cursor. I'm gonna call this the Payne parcel. It's owned by GP3 or Great Payne, a longstanding family in Middleton. And here's the Maverick 2.75 parcel. So the two applications before you tonight are annexation and rezone, that's one. The second is development agreement. As to zoning, the property is currently vacant land. It's in Canyon County, it's agricultural, and it's also zoned C1, neighborhood commercial in the county. The property is contiguous to Middleton city limits, making it eligible for annexation. It's flanked by property in the city, zone C3, and to the south is county agricultural, and to the east is city limits property zoned M1 or light industrial. Water and sewer are already located in Hartley Lane, immediately adjacent to the project site. The city has already allocated and reserved the sewer capacity for the Maverick site. Actually, commercial uses, I was surprised to learn this, do not use that much sewer and water because people are only there half of the day. They're not doing dishes, they're not taking showers. So that's actually good for the city, and the city is needing to reserve and keep capacity for commercial in the future, by the way. That is a big deal. I think they'll use about 10 EDUs, maybe 8 for Maverick. As to the 12 acre Payne parcel to the south, sewer and water capacity for any future development, which could occur 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, will be considered at the time the development permit is issued. So, and that will be part of the DA actually. Primary access for this Maverick parcel is off of Hartley Lane. Their ITD would not grant them an access off of Highway 44 directly. And I just wanted to show you a picture. This is what the Maverick would look like. The Payne parcel to the south will have 2 accesses off of Hartley Lane, and they will line up, if you watch mine, they'll line up with the accesses at Sage. And there's an access right up there, actually, once this is developed. And that will avoid traffic conflicts. So the developer of the parcel, Maverick parcel, will complete all frontage along Highway 44 Main Street and all Hartley Lane that's adjacent to their property. But the Maverick developer has also agreed in a DA to put in a travel lane along this red strip down here. Even though they don't own the parcel, will not use the Payne parcel, they're gonna go ahead and put a travel lane there so that Hartley Lane doesn't wobble in and out. And there's a school down there, and if you remember down here, this is called the Square at Hartley, and it's a big flex use, and there's a lot of commercial going in there. So Maverick has generously agreed to do that, and the landowner, Great Payne, will dedicate at no cost to the city those improvements. They will be interim, however, and then later on, when Mr. Payne or whoever owns the property brings in a later development project years from now, they will flesh out the rest of those Hartley Lane improvements. They'll put in the sidewalk, they'll put in the curb and gutter. But right now, we just asked Maverick to put in the travel lane and a borrow ditch to handle the storm drain off the road. So it was just a nice compromise. There will be drive aisles too that will connect all of this commercial. Maverick will connect to the Payne property will connect to the Square at Hartley, and they'll connect to the east, they'll connect to the west, the south, so that as commercial comes on, you can move around down there. On annexation, we have to look at police and fire. Middleton City Police already serve this area because of the school, and it's right there contiguous to city limits. This site is also already in the Middleton Fire Districts, and that won't change whether they're annexed in or not. So as to annexation and rezone, applicants are requesting a rezone, and annexation of the whole property rezone to C3 heavy commercial. Convenience store gas station is an allowed use in the C3 zone, so that's good. There are two findings that must be made before annexation can be approved. First, the property must be contiguous, and second, city services such as sewer, water, police, fire, and the roadway system can be expanded to serve the site in an orderly, efficient, and economical manner. That's from the Idaho Code. An application for rezone requires two findings. First, the rezone will not adversely affect the city's delivery of services, road, sewer, water, police, fire. Second, the rezone request is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Staff findings. With respect to annexation, staff finds that the applicant's project meets the criteria of contiguity. It's adjacent. Staff also finds that city services can be economically and efficiently extended because sewer and water are immediately adjacent to the site. As to the roadway, the development agreement takes care of the improvement of Hartley Lane adequately by even adding an extra travel lane. So I think that's good and meets the code requirements. And fire and police are also in a good position to serve the site, as I already noted. As to the rezone, planning staff finds that the rezone will not adversely affect the city's ability to deliver services, as I just stated. And I'll show in the comprehensive plan section below that that a rezone is in harmony with the comp plan. But first, let's go through the two development agreements. It's the same property owner. That's why the annexation is coming in as one project. But there are two development agreements because they're doing two very different things. Pertaining to one of the parcels, pertaining to the other parcel. So let's go over Maverick's parcel, the 2.75 acre parcel. Number one, the developer will develop the project site generally consistent with the site plan. We always attach a site plan so we know what they're going to do and we hold their feet to it. Number two, developers shall construct all Highway 44 improvements per ITD and city requirements. Number three, developer will construct the half-road portions of Hartley Lane directly adjacent to the Maverick parcel. And that includes sidewalk, everything. It'll be full half-road improvements. City shall provide developer one access off of Hartley Lane, and developer will create cross-access easements to the Payne parcel to the south. Developer is also going to provide pathways along Middleton Road, Highway 44 and Hartley, and add a public access easement over the Highway 44 pathway. Developer will also provide public utility easements necessary for city. Developer will also provide one public RV dump station, and they will pay all connection fees, but city will not charge them the monthly sewer service fee because they're doing a public service for the community. The other RV dump station is going to go away, and this will supplant that. City will waive mid-star transportation fees and pro-rata traffic fees for the Maverick parcel because they're going to do quite a few improvements to the Hartley Lane and Highway 44 intersection. City may terminate the DA if this convenience store is not constructed within 3 years. So if something stalls, we can terminate it. It just goes back to a parcel. They have an extension request, and then even though there's one owner and there are two DAs, the provisions provide that if one owner on their parcel breaches the contract, it will not affect the other parcel with their DA, except for to the extent that they overlap, say with the Hartley improvements. Okay, so let's go on to the Payne parcel to the south. That's the 12-acre parcel. At this point, there's no project attached to it. There may not be a project attached to it for many, many years. And in the meantime, the owner, who is a farmer, a professional farmer, would like to continue farming indefinitely. So number one, There will be a provision in the DA that says that this owner can farm as a non-conforming use, and it would be a non-conforming use in C3 indefinitely. But this owner may at any time seek to develop the parcel in compliance with the city C3 zone code, and they will be subject to all of the code requirement at the time that they come in, not this current code, but future codes. The DA also says that sewer capacity will not be considered until they bring in a development permit. And we don't want to talk about that or figure that out right now. They could bring in something that's very high tense water, like a brewery, a car wash, a lot of water. But most commercial things, hardly water at all. So we're going to look at that when they bring in their development permit in the future, whenever that is. When this Payne parcel owner chooses to develop, the DA will make them construct the rest of the Hartley Lane frontage. The borrowed ditch will go away, curb and gutter, storm drain will come in. At the time of development, the city will provide owner with 2 accesses off of Hartley. That's in the DA, so they needed 2 accesses, we agreed, if you do. The Maverick company did a traffic study for their 2.75 acre parcel, and this DA needs to say that does not apply to the 12 acre parcel. When they come in, we may make them do a traffic study. The combined annexation does not make the DAs intertwined, as I already mentioned. The owner is entitled to signs, monument signs on the 12 acre parcel, but also a sign on the Maverick parcel, which he also owns, per the DA. So we need to go over the comprehensive plan. On the Flum future land use map, it shows pink for commercial. This perfectly fits in the Flum, no problem there. As to goals, objectives, and strategies of the comp plan, the goals 1, 4, 6, 7, and 8 are amply covered, and with this project, basically commercial is desirable, and they're bringing in commercial, they're bringing in jobs. There were no surrounding landowner comments. There were agency comments that were attached to the agenda for the public and also the staff report. Application information is up there, notice is up there, notice was good and per law. State codes and Idaho codes that are pertinent are up there on the board. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered the applications on January 8th, 2024 in a public hearing. The commission recommended that City Council approve the applications subject to the conditions of approval set forth in the staff report. Now, as to City Council, per state law and the Middleton City Code, any final order must be based upon facts and conclusions of law. I put forth all the findings of facts above in parentheses, also in the staff report. So they were called out. As to conclusions of law, staff finds that City Council has the authority to hear these applications and to approve or deny the applications with or without conditions. Planning staff knows that all public notice requirements were met. Staff further set forth the portions of the code relevant to these applications. If City Council is inclined to approve the applications, then staff recommends the following conditions. Number 1, water, fire flow, sanitary, sewer services are to be extended to the site. Developer and owners are to comply with all the terms of their respective development agreements approved with the project. Number 3, the owner of the 12-acre Payne parcel shall be required to pay all pro-rata shared traffic fees as required by the city code in the future when they do a development permit application and it's approved. All city planner and engineering review comments for the Maverick design review site plan are to be completed and approved. All city planner, engineering, and building department comments for that Maverick building permit plan set are to be completed and approved. All requirements of the Middleton Fire District and the Canyon County Water Company, the irrigation district, are to be completed and approved. Sewer and water capacity to be considered and analyzed for the 12-acre Payne parcel when they submit a development permit. And sewer and water capacity will not be reserved for either parcel until the construction drawings for their respective projects are approved. So at that time. If council denies the applications, then council should state on the record what these applicants can do, if anything, to obtain approval. And I stand for questions, but also I just wanted to let you know, because there's the applicants, there's kind of two different things going on with two different DAs. If you don't mind, it's up to you to allow two applicants to present tonight, and you can set the time accordingly, but, okay. And then I stand for questions.
No questions.
None at this time.
So we'll bring up the applicant at this time? Okay.
Before we do that, let's have council quick bathroom break, just 2 minutes.
I thought I heard some
Hey,
whispering.
everybody needs to know.
Don't want you
Comes with
stepping
age.
on. Yes, so I'm gonna move that we take this 2-3 minute break at 2:26. Reconvene, that'll give them time to get ready and then tee it up and go.
Okay. Oh, sorry.